Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming my October books. I read 4 books this month, so it was a pretty good month, even though I actually didn't have like a ton of time to read this month, but I did manage to read 4 books. And I'm just gonna jump right into it. Here's all the books. I'll just leave them here, that way you can kind of see them. I filmed this video once already and I kind of had to speed through it because my camera battery was dying, so now I'm refilming it so I can actually slow down and film and like take my time. I'm gonna talk about these 2 books together because they're part of a series, and I read both of these books this month because I think this is the second one and this is the third one. But I read this one first, and after I read it, I literally had to go get this one and read it because I am obsessed with this series. Like I talked about before in a video, oh, Stormy's gonna chew on her toy now. This series is like fantasy, kind of, but it's really good. Fantasy is usually not my favorite genre. I don't read any fantasy books. I literally only read these. So if you want to start a series, I would suggest this one. These books are so entertaining and like makes me feel like I'm not really reading, which I really like. They are really long, and as the series goes on, they get longer. Like this is the second book, this is the third book. This book is huge. It's like 500, 600 pages in it, but it didn't take me that long to read them just because they're so interesting. Literally, both of these are 5 out of 5 for me. I love this series, and I think there's 2 more books, so I'm gonna have to read the last 2 soon. I need to go to the bookstore because I need more books to read. And then I read this book, and I do have quite a few things to say about this book. Of course, like the whole time I'm getting ready, she doesn't chew in on anything, and then as soon as I start filming, she starts chewing on the loudest toy she could possibly find in this house. So this is A Conversation with Friends. I would give this like a 2.5 out of 5. This wasn't like my favorite book, but it did get better as I kept reading. The beginning was really boring and really slow, and I honestly thought that I wasn't gonna finish it because I really didn't like it, but it did get better. Read the back and then we can talk about it a little bit. Frances is a cool-headed and darkly observant young woman, vaguely pursuing a career in writing while studying in Dublin. Her best friend is the beautiful and endlessly self-possessed Bobby. At a local poetry performance one night, they meet a well-known photographer, and as the girls are then gradually drawn into her world, Frances is reluctantly impressed by the older woman's sophisticated home and handsome husband, Nick. But however amusing Frances and Nick's flirtations seem at first, it begins to give way to a strange and then painful intimacy. So basically the narrator girl in this book, she's a 21-year-old college girl, and she ends up having an affair with an older man. He's like 32, I think, in this book. So that's basically the whole premise of the book. But I have notes on my phone, so I'm just gonna read it. I like the way that the book is written from the narrator's perspective, because you kind of get to be put inside her head and like feel and get to know all her thoughts as the story goes on. But you don't get to know any of the thoughts of the other characters, so you're kind of like, it's basically like her diary almost. That's how I would describe it. Like, it's written as this is the narrator's diary, which is a really interesting way to write, I think. So yeah, like I said, it wasn't my favorite book, but it definitely got better, and I enjoyed it more as I kept reading. That's all. This is gonna be a short video because I don't have a lot to say about any of these books, really. The last book I read was Jennette McCurdy's new memoirs. It's like a memoir, I think it is. This book was really, really good. It took me forever to get my hands on this book. I had to actually reserve a copy of it at the bookstore when they were gonna get them in, and then I had to wait for them to call me and go pick it up when it actually came in. And I could literally, it was really expensive too. This was a really expensive book and really hard to get. I don't think that they were expecting it to kind of be as popular as it was, because she's kind of like not been around. Like, you haven't really heard anything about Jennette for a while, and then all of a sudden she comes out with a book. So I don't think they were really expecting it to blow up the way it did, but everybody was talking about this book, and I am glad that I read it. It says, Jennette McCurdy was 6 years old when she had her first acting audition. Her mother's dream was for her only daughter to become a star, and Jennette would do anything to make her mother happy. So she went along with what mom called calorie restriction, eating little and weighing herself 5 times a day. She endured extensive at-home makeovers while mom chided, your eyelashes are invisible, okay? You think Dakota Fanning doesn't tint hers? She was even showered by mom until age 16, and was also forced to share her diaries, email, and her entire income. So in this book, she just talks about all of that and recounts like her life, basically, from when she was younger to when she was older, because her mom died of cancer, and she talks about that in the book too. I really liked this book. It was really entertaining. I don't usually read books like nonfiction books because they're just like, I'd rather read a story, but Jennette McCurdy did a really good job at writing in this book to make it like a story. She's actually a really, really good writer, which is actually what she wanted to do before she became an actor. She wanted to be a writer, and she did write a few scripts, I'm pretty sure, after the fact, but her mom always like shut down that idea. So spoiler it. She managed to make like a sad story funny. Like, this book is funny, and she talks about some really, really serious stuff, but puts a little bit of comedy in it to make it like lighter, less serious maybe, I think, but it was really good. It was interesting to learn more about her life, because when you just seen her on like iCarly, you never would have thought that all this stuff was happening behind the scenes with her mom and like her life and everything. Overall, super interesting book. I hope she writes more, because she is a really good writer. I know like writing a memoir is a lot different than like writing a book, but she did do such a good job at like making it a story. I think she could write more stuff and be really good at it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this month's video. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.